Welcome to Uncorked and Unscripted, the podcast and video series that gives you VIP access to the unscripted stories of people I've met through events. In this episode of Uncorked and Unscripted, entrepreneur Vaney Hariri joins us to discuss healthy culture in the workplace, moving from New York to South Dakota, and the art of traveling solo. Now uncork your favorite beverage and listen up as we spend the next half hour unscripted. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Uncorked and Unscripted. I am your host, Addie Graham Kramer. Today we have boxing babe, Vaney Hariri with us. Welcome, Vaney.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be with you. I was waiting for my invite.
Do you like the boxing babe part? The babe?
I do.
The boxing?
First of all, I like boxing. I like being a babe. It works.
You are a pretty good-looking guy, Vaney.
I like to think so.
I know. We're not here to talk about your looks today. Well, actually, we could. No topics off limits. So we can talk about everything.
We'll circle back to that.
Everything, all good looks. But before we get in and share with everybody all the deets about how we know each other, all your background, all what you're about, we always start off with Uncorked and Unscripted, talking a little bit about what your favorite beverage would be and what would describe you. So that's the uncorked part of the Uncorked and Unscripted. So if you were to be a beverage, what would be a beverage that would describe Vaney Hariri?
Oh, if I were to be a beverage.
Yes, if you were a drink of choice.
Well, that is my drink of choice, which is vodka on the rocks. Strong, transparent, straightforward, and it'll get you there.
I love it. Easy.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I'm a extra dirty martini girl. Also strong. Little salty.
What a good
we like to have
question.
we like to have a little fun. Plus it's in a fun glass. Like that's a fun part.
Yes.
I can't do vodka waters though. Yipes. Any particular vodka?
Straight vodka.
Oh, just straight. No ice.
Water.
But no ice?
So sometimes I'll do it on the rocks, but I like drinking my liquor straight for the most part for a couple reasons. Number one, I like remembering that I'm drinking liquor. I don't need it sneaking up on me.
Yeah, I get it.
2, you can't really mess it up. It's consistent wherever you go. And 3, no matter how busy the bar is, they can make my drinks. And when they over there making 5-ingredient drinks and gimlets and smacking basil and all of that, somebody can just pour my drink and hand it to me.
That's so funny. Easy. What's your favorite vodka?
I'm a Goose guy if I'm out.
Okay.
My home vodka, Kettle One. And then, I'm always down for some Tito's, America,
Texas. I love it.
I'm into all of it. I'm a pretty chill person that way. I like to try to make it easy for people to take care of me. So when I'm out, I don't like the idea of people serving me. I go and I do things with my friends and my loved ones and people that I care about. And they want to take care of me, and I appreciate that. So I try to make it easier.
I've been to a few meetings with you, and they've been after hours, and I've never. Sometimes I'll roll in pretty hot last minute, but I've never even noticed what you're drinking. I guess I assumed there was extra stuff in there, but now I know. No fluff, no mess, easy.
To the point. And the beautiful part about it is you almost never see me order it. Like I said, I walk in, they know what I like, and they just bring it over, and we good to go.
Good for you. Well, for those that are listening, why don't you share just a little bit more about your journey to South Dakota? So, and all that you're a part of. So Vaney and I first met, oh my gosh, you were still at Wells Fargo. You were doing this like part-time gig. And I don't remember actually how or where I met you, but I knew you were this famous rapper dude that was doing stuff at Icon. And that's how I should have started it out, Mr. Rap Boxer Babe, all of it.
Yeah.
But
I got a lot of dashes.
You do, but it's awesome. I mean, so that's how I remember you were still doing the Wells Fargo gig with Tamian, and you're kind of doing this part-time stuff. But tell people a little bit about all where you came from, background. I want to hear it all.
Yeah. So I originate from Buffalo, New York. Moved here mid-90s. At the time, my uncle was out here for some military stuff, and Sioux Falls was the number one place to live. I think it was Money Magazine, maybe. It was the number one place to live. Buffalo was not. the number one place to live. And our home had gotten burglarized. My mother's vehicle had gotten stolen. Just normal city stuff was happening. And it was just one of those situations where we really wanted to try to get to a different place and have some different opportunity. And my uncle was out here, and he calls back and he says, "Yo, it's crazy out here." He's like, people leave their cars running with their purse on the front seat. He like, they don't lock their doors. We have bars on doors. You know what I mean? It just didn't
Yeah,
make sense.
it
And
is the
so
Wild West. Wild
it
West.
was really like the Wild West. Now that's probably more of how it should be, but it seemed crazy to us. So we came out here, and one of the things that I just appreciated, even as a young person, this was always in my mentality, was I always loved how malleable Sioux Falls
Mhm,
was.
mhm.
And I wanted to be able to influence my community versus just the other way around. And so I stuck around, and then I grew to love it dearly.
We have the best people in this community,
We
and,
do.
I've only lived in the Midwest, but I travel all over, and I always say, like, the roots here are pretty deep, but again, people still to this day leave their cars running still. That was the '90s, here we are decades later, like, we're still still leaving the cars running, but
Well,
the
I mean, I'll tell you though, I'm into it a little. My sister will come and visit me, and like sometimes we'll leave out the apartment, and I won't lock it because I'm just going downstairs or something. She's like, "What?" I said, "Listen, I live here, so I don't have to live like I'm there."
Yeah, I know. But it's
Yeah.
still I mean, the people are, I think, what keep us here, and just the environment, truly. I mean, I just mentioned prior to, like, I'll be in Chicago this next week, and it's a hustle and bustle, still Midwest downfeel, I feel like.
Hmm.
But then we're in Beverly Hills shortly after that and doing some work, and it's just like it's it's complete opposite ends of the spectrum for sure. But what keeps me coming back is the people, and both you and I resonate downtown. We work downtown. We live downtown. Like, this is our vibe, and this is where we thrive as well. And I just feel like we have something so special in this community, unlike anything else, unlike Fargo or Lincoln or Omaha. I
Yeah,
think there's people that try to replicate, and we also try to replicate things that
of
they're
course.
doing. But it's such a special community.
Yeah. Well, and it's 2024. Like anytime I don't want to be here, I leave.
Yeah, yeah, true,
You know
true.
what I mean? I go
Yeah,
someplace else. But for me, honestly, my favorite part of the vacation is coming back.
yeah. So you moved here in the '90s. Did you tight roll your pants then?
Oh, I was never doing that. That was some out here stuff. We
No
was never.
way.
I was in the hood. We were. I wish you would have tight rolled your pants in the hood. So that was not the move. But when I came out here, it was funny because style wise and things of that nature, things were just a little bit ahead.
Yeah.
But people would make it seem like you were behind. It was a
That we
funny
were
thing.
ahead
Like,
here? You thought we were ahead here? Of
no,
fashion? Oh,
I was
yeah.
ahead coming
Yeah,
here, but
for
people would
sure.
talk to me like I wasn't because they weren't familiar with it. It was
Yeah.
funny
Oh,
because
yeah, yeah.
people would call themselves making fun of me, and then 6 months later, they would be wearing. I remember I was wearing a visor, and people would be like, "Hey, dude, did you know you're missing some of your hat?"
Oh my
And then
gosh.
6 months later, everybody got visors on. I would have like a North Face vest on. They'd be like, "Hey,
Oh,
man,
yeah.
you going swimming?"
Oh
6 months
my
later,
gosh, really?
everybody got on North Face. I would be wearing like camo. They'd be like, "I can't see you, man." Next thing you know, everybody have on camo.
Camo.
So I had to learn. It actually taught me a great lesson, though. It turned me. It sometimes you're ahead of the game can feel like you're behind it,
Yeah.
but you got to have the confidence that you know is coming, and you got to
Mhm.
double down on some of
Mhm.
those things.
Yeah,
And it takes
exactly.
courage to do that.
And did you have hypercolor?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
See?
I had hypercolor and cross color.
And Gerbo
Okay, so
jeans?
I
Did
don't
you
know if
have
you remember the
Gerbo
cross color
jeans?
phase.
No, what was cross color? What was that?
So cross colors was this was big on the East Coast, so it was more of a Nubian style, so your earth tones type of thing, and then
Hmm.
maroons and browns, all colors that do not look good on me. But it was it was the thing to do at the time, and so it was a pretty big on the East Coast, not so much here.
Weird. I was talking with my husband the other day about the pump shoes. And,
Oh
like,
yeah,
you can still buy the pump shoes,
oh yeah, for
but
sure.
it is yeah, it's awesome to see how fashion like that is even coming back now, but I have not seen any hypercolor shirts for a while or do you remember the green Gerbo jeans? Do you remember
Oh yeah,
those? Oh, yeah, I haven't seen those
yeah.
for so long,
Yes,
but
Jabos, Janko jeans,
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
The big one? Look at us
FUBU,
just
FUBU, all the
sounding
stuff.
old.
You are fashionable though. Like I've seen you out and about. You've been in magazines. You've walked the runway. You've done Dancing with the Stars with us. Like you're a fashionable hip dude. Have you always been like that? Your wife has to have some influence on this, I
I
would
care
guess.
more now than what I ever did when I was younger, but it was really not as important to me as younger because we didn't have access to some of it.
Yeah, right, right.
So I had to get comfortable with not
Yeah,
doing that. I think for
yeah,
me, where fashion became more forward was when I really found what was comfortable for me. And
yeah.
especially when I got put myself in a position to be able to show up the way I wanted. Because when you work in, especially in a corporate environment, you wearing a uniform or a dress code or whatever they want you to wear. So that was kind of inauthentic. And then once I got home, I didn't want to do that. Now, I had my rapper stuff. You know what I mean? Like it was very,
Mhm.
everything being like 4 and 5X, but even that kind of felt like a uniform, to be
Yeah,
honest with you.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then there's a point where you get where it's like, this is how I'm showing up. Take it or leave.
So at your company now, so Vani and his business partner Tamian own an organization called Think 3D. And I want you to share a little bit more about that. But do you guys have uniforms at Think 3D?
We do not. Our goal is I hate the phrase professional because it's not like a real thing. It's just kind of a thing that people have in their mind. And usually, when you ask people, what does dress professional mean? Usually, they give you 4 or 5 articles
Oh,
of clothing,
hmm, hmm,
slacks, sweater vest, coat.
yeah, yeah,
And usually what it represents is what your daddy used to wear, you know
hmm,
what I mean?
hmm,
And
hmm.
so we don't say dress professional. What we ask people to do is be put together. So look at your schedule, see what you got going on and be
Same
put
deal.
together.
Yeah,
If you all office all day, not come in sweat, I don't
yeah,
care.
yep.
If we
Same deal.
out doing the thing, look like you
Hmm.
showed up to do a
Yeah,
thing.
yep. My mom always said though, dress to impress, but not for what you don't want, right? And so for me, like it's the same type of vibe. Like we are if Mondays are really like an in-office day, we try not to have as many meetings here. But then we're closed on Friday, so we have to try to fit meetings in a couple of days in there. But for us, it's the same deal. Like if we have no meetings on the schedule, nobody's coming in the office, we're not external. Yeah, hoodies it up, do whatever you need to do. But
Hmm.
that is also part of our culture. Like I came from corporate America where we were in very professional dress attire at a lot of times. And so we would be in suits and heels and all the stuff. And I knew when I launched the company, like that just was not me. And I felt like that also is represented in our culture of just like we are who we are and we will dress when we need to. But I've never rocked any gold chains like you, my friend, ever.
That's the whole
That's
thing.
you. That
Listen,
is
we
you.
got
You
the
can
we
do
got
it.
the we got the accents. We got,
Yeah,
you know
you
what I
can
mean?
do it.
Like,
You can do
hold on.
it.
I got an extra one in here too, just in case they forgot.
Look at
Listen,
you.
we got
Look
a
at you.
couple of,
You can do it though. But so
you
tell us
know?
about Think 3D and how that all came to be because both of you two were working at Wells Fargo, right?
Mhm. Yeah,
And
so first of all, Think 3D, we specialize in leadership development training, organizational and community culture. So really we helping organizations lock in and enhance their culture. We say enhance their culture because you already have one. As we say, a culture will emerge whether intended or not. But if it's not one that you invest in, it's going to be one that you pay for. And we saw this because as we were in various levels of leadership, we spent a lot of our time in finance, particularly call centers, and very metrics based, very monotonous, attrition heavy. And we're not complainers. And we were in a rap group together, so we have been together for a long time. We lived together for years, and we just we brothers. And when we get together, we just never really enjoy complaining about things. That was never our vibe. So for us, it was always about what are we going to do about it. And so when we realized that there were some gaps in the culture, we started working through what we wanted to do, and we realized that most of it was just about dealing with the humans. That a lot of people who were leading me, they weren't bad people, and they weren't being malicious. They were doing what they were told to do, and most of the things they were told to do, they weren't taught to do. And so, why would it go well? And then for me, it was a situation where I didn't always have a connection with what we were doing. And so, when we started really trying to invest in people, what we saw was our teams perform better, we had less HR issues, and we had a more engaged team. And when we had our engagement surveys, we were often at the top. So I didn't really have anybody leave me that didn't leave to be promoted or for retirement. And so so we said, okay, we on to something. And then in 2015, we started writing a book on culture, Think 3D, a radical new approach to maximizing your team. And then we dropped that in 2016. We were going to wait 5 years before we started the consulting piece of it. But
Oh,
then
really?
millennials happened
Wow.
and
I
people
didn't know
lost
that.
their mind.
Why 5 years?
In the beginning, especially when you don't know what you're doing, we're like, okay, let's get our sea legs, let's work the book, let's make some money, let's do all that other type of stuff. But then it was one of those things where it was just like it was a need. People weren't equipped to deal with the change and work. And it went from a buyer's market to a seller's market.
Mhm.
And a lot of things that people were doing culturally, they wouldn't have done if they didn't have to,
Yeah.
you know. But when the market shifted, when it started being about what younger folks wanted and they had the positioning to be able to demand it, it changed the dynamics really, really quickly. And a lot of organizations weren't prepared for it.
The thing that I absolutely have adored both of you and what you do, and I think how you position yourself and what you do day in and day out is the intentionality of it and
Mhm.
not just fly by the seat of your pants. I mean, you're coming into these organizations and again, like what you just said, you're enhancing what they have, right? You don't go in there and scrap completely what they're doing, right? You're just building on what they've done, or have you had to scrap completely and rebuild?
Well, you can't scrap completely unless you get rid
Yeah.
of all of the people. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
no matter what you teach them, the residue is going to be there. And so the skill set is part of it, the conceptual knowledge is part of it, but most of what we're really trying to impact is in the leadership is insecurity, fear, anxiety,
Mhm. Mhm.
you know what I mean, cowardice. Those are the things that keep people from being effective leaders. For the most part, we all know how to treat each other. What gets in the way is our fear, insecurity, trauma, previous experiences, pride. Those things get in the way of us executing what we usually already know to do.
So, how did the name come to be then? Because obviously it came into the book first, and then you've got the
Yeah.
company. So, how'd the name come into the mix?
For sure. So when we say think 3D, we mean think three dimensionally. A lot of people think of their people or their business or their community two dimensionally.
Like
What I can
B2B,
do for you,
B2C
what you
type
can
of
do
thing,
for me.
right?
Right.
Yeah.
So we say 3D as in the three dimensions of a healthy culture: professional, potential, personal. So the stuff you need to do your job in a professional, most organizations do that fine. Potential, how do you identify talent? How do you develop it through mentorship, apprenticeship, and coaching? Most organizations need some help with that. And then the one that people generally don't do very well is the personal aspect. And that's giving credence to how people go home. So home gives credence to how that person comes back.
Mm, mhm.
Because when you tell dimension, you could tell that I'm three dimensional, not just because of myself, but because of the stuff around me. If you took everything away, you wouldn't really be able to tell. And the same is true of people. If you're not thinking about all the things that surround a person, their mental health, emotional health, their family, their community life, you're not thinking about them three dimensionally.
So, do you think, like, when you're going into organizations and talking that way and trying to in a sense, infiltrate, I think, a new way of thinking. Are you is there resistance at first? Like, what does that look like? I haven't gone through, I think, any of those teachings, and I'm just so curious to know, like, what's that feel like on both sides? Is there a
Yeah.
scare piece of it? Is it a resistance piece? Like, or is it like, nope, just we're gonna scrap and go, like, we believe in you?
It's less resistance in that there's headwinds,
Sure, sure,
right?
sure, sure. Like
But it's
anything,
less
yeah.
people are saying, no, I don't want to. They know they need to, which is why they're talking to us. And probably one of the biggest misconceptions is that we work with people with bad cultures. But the reality of it is people with bad cultures don't call us because people with truly bad cultures don't care. If they're talking to us, me in particular, it's because you don't come and get me if you don't want to change. That's
Yeah,
just not
yeah, yeah,
what
yeah,
you
yeah,
do,
yeah.
And so there's that part of it. But what usually happens is people usually spend the a good chunk of time defending themselves. That's usually what we have to work through. Because when you're coming in and you're evaluating it and you're saying, well, do you do this?
Yeah,
And they don't. Do you do that? And you don't. And then it's like, well, we kind of, and we
yeah.
want to, and
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
nobody's
yeah, yeah,
judging.
yeah, yeah, right.
But this is
Just trying
what
to get a
the
fair
reality
assessment.
is.
Yeah.
Right. So you got to be honest about where you're at and you got to be honest about what you've put into it in order to get to the work of it. And that part is a little bit hard because people are exhausted when they call us and they're trying when they call us. And so for you to come in and say, hey, here's an opportunity, there's an opportunity, there's an opportunity,
Mhm.
it can feel like you failed or
Yeah.
failing. And we try to keep people out of that mindset because it's not productive.
So from you, like, walk me through like just a little bit of what the process is. So you're meeting with the team, you're doing the assessment. Are you bridging the leadership team with team members as well? Or are they
Yeah.
I mean, like, what's that look like? Because for us, as you know and have kind of gathered, like, we are out on the floor all the time with the team. We're at the events, we're doing the things just alongside our team members as well. Of course, there's the autonomy pieces of it, and there's certain pieces that I do that they don't do, and vice versa. But we try to be involved as much as we can, or as much as they want us to be. And I will
Hmm.
tell you, there are times where the team's like, you know what? Like, if I'm transferring relationships over or passing it down, like, they just want me out, which rightfully so. And sometimes that's a therapy session for me, where it's hard to let go some of those times. But I can imagine when you're coming into organizations and they may be defending themselves, but it shouldn't be, but it could be. Like, how are you bridging that conversation between leaders and team members?
Well, one of the things we say is we don't advocate for anyone, we advocate for everyone. So we're going to talk to everyone. We have three non-negotiables when we come on with an organization. One is everybody's in the boat. If you think you're above the training, there's no better evidence that you need it. Number two, just because you pay us doesn't mean we work for you. We're partners. We're going to challenge you.
Mhm.
We don't work for you. And then three, you got to be willing to part from your top performer if they're undermining the culture.
Mm.
Because if there's so much you can do or so much you can make that you can
Mhm.
justify making it worse for everybody else, you're not going to have a healthy culture. So we like to establish that right out of the gate because we're not for everybody. And what I don't want to do is be brain wrestling with you every day to try to get you to do things that we agreed are necessary. So that I'm not interested in. So that's part of it. The other thing is when we come in, like we said, we don't want to get into judgment, and we try to create an environment where there are no villains and there are no victims. So we try to create an environment where we take the challenges, we put them on the table, we sort them out, and then we address them, and then we go about our business. And so what we'll do is we'll generally start with leaders, and I do a lot of one-on-ones with leaders. That's a good chunk of what I do. There's not a lot of empathy for leaders. There's not a lot of safe spaces for leaders, which is also why we made Culture Code.
Mhm.
There's not a lot of places for leaders to go to be like, I'm scared, or I don't know, or I need help, or I'm tired, or I got stuff going on. Because if you're in charge, nobody really wants to hear that for you. It doesn't inspire confidence. And there are things that people will do to a leader that they would never do to the person.
Mhm. Mhm.
It's just like if you ever worked at a job and you were friends with somebody and then you got promoted,
Oh,
it
yeah.
changes.
Oh,
And
for
all of a
sure.
sudden, this
Yeah.
person can deal with you differently than they have ever dealt with you before because you're in charge.
Been there.
So we work through all of that, and then we get with middle management. We work on skills, communication, coaching, one-on-ones, all that type of jazz, and then we kind of merge it, kind of all back together.
What do you see as, like, been some of the most successful cultures that you've been around, like, or workplaces that you've been around? Like, what are you seeing when you are in there and you're doing your thing? And I don't know if you call it like they've graduated from you. I mean, I would assume you're gonna still stay with them throughout the duration. I mean, it could be a long-standing relationship, but what does that look like for you? And can you maybe share, you don't have to share company names at all, I don't want you to do that, but maybe what does that look like for you when you see, gosh, we've made our mark, we've done a good job here. What's that look like for
Yeah,
you?
we're with most of our organizations for years, a couple at
Yeah.
least.
Yeah.
And what we try to do is when we get a feeling that, because there's just a level of white noise anyway, where there's only so much you're going to hear from one person, or a group of people. So we always try to get you a trainer to a point where we're training someone in your organization to execute
Awesome.
kind of what we're doing because it needs to live there. Otherwise, when we leave, it leaves.
It's gone. Yeah.
And so some organizations, smaller ones where we can get everyone in the room, those are great because everybody's on the same page. We can develop a plan.
Mhm, mhm.
Much larger organizations, and there's some, pretty large ones that we work with, that we got to be a little bit more thoughtful. But then that also means they usually have some infrastructure. They usually have a L&D department or something like that that we can work with. I will give you one of our clients, one of them being First Premier, and we do, and that's a bank in town,
Mhm.
the largest community bank in its kind of sector, and they have Premier University, and we essentially execute that. And the reason why I point them out is because you're talking about a situation there where you have almost 2,000 employees,
Yeah.
and developing the infrastructure and the cadence and putting in the investment to get all of those people through to it. Sometimes a 2-day session, a 1-day refresher. So these people are spending significant periods of time with us working on these skills. And that's a lot of investment.
Mhm.
That's a lot of energy that goes into doing that. And
Mhm.
so I think they're a great example of what you would like to be able to do. Not everybody's in a financial position to be able to do that or is mature enough as an organization to be able to do it quite like that. But if I were to give people a model, that would be one of the ones I would point to.
Do you think from your side, I mean, when you're going in and day out with these organizations, it's obviously rewarding for you in many, many ways and all of your team members. I mean, you've got an incredible team of people that are doing some great, great, great work. But for you, like, how do you feel like at the end of the day when you're working with all these different organizations and you are pushing yourself out there 24/7? How do you feel at the end of the day? Like, are you exhausted? Are you energized? Is it a combination of both? Like, what's
Yeah,
Vonnie feel like at the end of the day?
it's a little bit of both. And I'll tell
Yeah.
you, there's some days, Mondays, for instance, is a day where I'm usually doing a lot of one-on-ones. Sometimes it's joyous because people are moving things forward and they tried things and they're working and they
Mhm.
feel accomplished and they feel like they're winning. And then there's days where back to back to back to back, I'm dealing with people who are on the verge of, really breaking, whether it be because of things that are in their personal life or private life. We're not clinical therapists, and that's not the approach that we take. But just by the nature of what we do, we have to address the challenging things in a person. And when you have those types of conversations, it can weigh on you. And it's a skill set to being able to connect with a person, to be empathetic without taking on what they're experiencing. I always say I'm kind of like a person who works at a toll booth. Everybody's going someplace except for me. So all of
Vonnie.
all of the
Vonnie.
conversations that I have kind of, end up being a little bit similar. But I'll tell you, Kristen, my assistant, this is the thing about having a team that cares about you. She's thoughtful. Do I have a break in here? What am I doing
Yeah,
afterwards? When can
right.
I slip something in to eat? When she's not just putting
Yeah.
stuff on my schedule. She's trying to be thoughtful about what my
The
mind state
again,
might be.
it's the intentionality piece of it, truly, you know?
Intentionality.
It took me a long time to get to that point, and I don't know how you guys were in the beginning years, like, after the book and getting into the company, but for
A
me,
hot
like
mess.
yeah, everybody's a hot ass mess. But those first couple years, 3 years, and I think they always say, like, what, you make it to year 3 and you're good, but for me, the first 3 years were so, so, so hard. I was working 20 plus hours a day. I think there was very, very little sleep, and it was hard, and I was pushing the pavement. I was in meetings. I was just, and it was we had a team of 2 or 3 at that point in time, and it was tough. And now I have purposely added to the calendar. Anybody can look on there now. It says I'm at the gym on these days with the trainer. Do not schedule things at this time. Or I have my lunches on calendars. And there's certain things. And again, I don't abide to that 24/7, but the team knows that those pieces are important to me, as well as when I'm taking somebody to football practice or going to pick up these things with them. And but I wasn't that way in the beginning years at all, at all. And while I was a leader, I do not think I was doing it well.
Yeah,
I was not a leader, right? I was a leader, but I wasn't. And
yeah.
now I
You
can
were in
feel,
front.
yeah, correct,
There's a difference
correct.
between leading and being out front.
Yeah, it was tough, but now, I mean, it took conversations of being very honest and open with the team about things, but also they understand, I think, the work that goes into it and what we do, and I want the same for them too. And I think it's a very special time when your team can recognize those pieces. Like you said, being a leader is lonely. It is very lonely. There's
Mhm.
no accolades. I shouldn't say none. There's rarely any accolades. There's not a lot of thanks or little buttons back and forth because you're just rolling and going, right? And so for us at this time where we're at in the company, it's being so purposeful about what's on my schedule and the time. So kudos to Kristen in putting
Yeah,
blocks when Vonnie can eat lunch. I
that's my
appreciate it.
girl. My family gotta hit her up. And, people get whatever. They're like, "Oh, I gotta talk to so and so," yeah, 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 that's the process because I wanna give you my time. And when I'm actively on purpose trying to fill our time with things that help this thing go, what I'm asking for is that you work within a process that helps me be able to do that. And so for me, I'm really unapologetic because what I found out earlier in our process is that when I'm messing with it too, it messes up what she's doing.
Oh
So
yeah,
I got
can
to
see
kind of
that.
leave it
Yeah.
alone or, do it yourself.
Well, and I mean, kudos to, again, your team, fam, to be able to take care of you because you're taking care of so many other people too. And I think sometimes people think about or do not think about taking care of those that are busy taking care of others. So kudos to them. Kudos to you too.
Absolutely. We got a
So
good team.
when you are in a chill mode, like what does your chill mode look like? Is there a chill mode? Are you off ever?
So there's a couple things I do. One, boxing is, like as you pointed out, is a big part of my life. That's how I tap into my zen. I need to punch things. It helps challenge my mind, which
Annie
is a segue
Mello
into the.
told me about your punching bag down there too.
I got a few. You know what I mean?
I
I
know.
get after it.
I know.
But what I do is though, I also take a solo location every quarter. So every quarter I fly someplace by myself, usually where there's a true fight gym. I go train with pro level trainers so I can expand my mind and learn and get uncomfortable. I'll go walk around. I can go to any restaurant I want because I don't have to worry about reservations. I don't have to do things by committee. Sometimes I might sit and listen to music. I might write. I might be in my hotel crying for half a day. Whatever. I'm just doing what I need to do for me. And what
Yeah.
I said to my wife when I first started doing these was, "This is not me not wanting to be with you. This is me wanting to be with me."
Yeah. How long have you
And
been doing that?
a couple years.
Wow, good for you.
Yeah,
What
it's
spurred
dope.
that on?
Actually, Tamian jumped it off. We were supposed to go to Mexico for a thing. I had something on the calendar that hadn't populated, and I just couldn't move it. And I was like, I gotta stay to do this thing. So he ended up having to go by himself because he just went. And he went, and Tamian is fairly introverted that way. He'll sit and read and that type of thing.
Mhm.
And sometimes when you go do something with somebody and then you do solitude based things, that can frustrate them. So when he came back and he was talking about how much he appreciated being able to do that without feeling judged or whatever, I was like, you know what, let me look into this.
Wow.
And so I went by myself on the first one. I went to a gym and trained, and just being able to move around the way I wanted to and experience it. And then bringing back new stories. When you've been with somebody for a certain period of time, heard all these stories. Every time they start telling the story to friends, you're like, ugh, here we go. Again. Right? So I like being
Been
able to
there.
come back to my
Yeah.
wife and tell her something new. You know what I mean?
So every quarter you do this. That's awesome.
Yeah, at least.
Wow, good for you.
At least sometimes it's a little bit more. And usually what happens is just by the nature of it, wherever I have it planned is usually always the right time because things are heavy, they're a lot, and I can get away. I can go do that thing. I get to, express myself physically, mentally, emotionally, all those other type of things. And then I come back and I can get after it. And so what I try to communicate to my team is that if you're not taking care of yourself, don't allow yourself to believe that you're doing us a favor by not taking care of yourself because you're bringing us a lesser product.
I love it. Wow, good for
You
you.
know,
I need to consider adopting that. There's different parts of the year where we take off, just us as a fam, and the last part of the year we close the business up, and there's just times like that throughout that we try to do. But I really love the beside yourself, the solocation. How do you say it?
yeah,
Solocation.
just did by yourself. Because the other thing too is it's like people make it seem like it's unreasonable. It's like when I hear people talking about their kids and they want you to believe that they always want to be around their kids, and it's like, no, you don't.
No, that's correct.
No, you don't. Like, why is that weird? My wife don't always want to be around me. I don't want to always want to be around her. It's just it's a ridiculous notion to assume that if we're not codependent or attached by the hip, we can't operate. And trust is not even a real conversation we have about that because we have a real relationship and
Yeah,
that's established. And so when I'm out there doing whatever it is that I'm doing, I'm there.
present.
So one of the things that's true for me and my wife as well is like I'm at where I'm at.
Hmm.
So if I'm here with these people, I'm here with these people. So usually I text when I take off, I text when I touch down, and other than that, I'm doing what I'm doing.
Good for you.
Yeah, it's pretty
I think
dope.
that's something to consider for a lot of people, and no matter what role that you're in, I think it's actually really, really smart.
I mean, if you for me, if you smart, you really want to think about that because it's one of those things where it's like two halves don't make a whole in terms of a relationship. Don't nobody want half of you.
Mhm.
They want a whole person,
Yeah.
an entire person. And if you can't make you happy, what chance I got?
We just built a house in Boji, and for us, Drew said the other day, he's like, "I like Iowa Addie versus South Dakota Addie." I am such a different person. Like, time is different there. I shed everything and I'm just me, right? Like, I'm not CEO, I'm not in the event world, I'm not whatever. I'm literally just
Mhm.
there. And it is a different vibe. And I like what you're saying with that. Maybe I should just start small and just do Lake Addie for a few days and be
Perfect.
done.
That's why we did the
Start
code. It's
small.
like just
Start small.
everybody has a version. You don't
Yeah.
necessarily have to get on a plane or do
Yeah.
whatever, but like go stay in a
I love
hotel
it.
in Sioux City or anything.
Sioux City. I
Now,
do love Sioux City. Okay, great. We love Sioux City.
no, I take a lot of shots to Sioux City, and they deserve them. I'm gonna be honest with you, respect, but they deserve it. But I will say this though, I'm gonna give a shout out to this one, the Warrior Hotel in Sioux City.
Oh, I've not been there.
You gotta go there. It's a dope hotel, dope.
Okay. Where's that
It's
at?
one of my favorite hotels to stay in, and it's right there in Sioux City. So
Okay.
I
I'll
got
check it out.
but what I would just say to people is like
Doesn't matter where you're
just
going.
go to a place that's far enough away that people can't get to you, you can't get to them. Don't feel obligated to engage with any other humans there, though I think you should. Move around, explore, learn something that you hadn't learned before, and in particular, go do things that other people don't want to do with you.
That's a good idea. Is your
You know
team
what I'm
respectful
saying?
about when you're off like that too? Team's good? The team understands?
Oh man, listen. First of all, I'm gonna keep it real with you. It wouldn't matter if they wasn't, but they are.
But you know what I
Because
mean, like respecting like time. Are you going during the middle of the week when you're doing this?
typically, no, it depends. So sometimes I will, but mostly no. Because again, I want to, because I want to be effective business wise, and I'll go. Just give me a little second on this. I'm gonna go a little deeper. So I actually train myself to do this, which means like when I would go, I would really figure out, okay, what's the best paths to go? What's the best cities to go?
Mhm.
How do I get this down to a $1,500 trip? And how do I get it down? Whatever. That way I could do more. So I can go into the year knowing I'm going to spend X amount of money on these things. That allows me to sustain it. That allows me to do it effectively and allow my team to wrap around. Now is no, they don't even think about it. It's like, hey, y'all, I got a solo. I'm gonna be gone. They don't even think about it. In fact, when I leave, sometimes my team will be working and they'll still have their lights on. I'll stick my head in. I'll be like, hey, I
Peace.
hope you're not staying here for me because I'm going home.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
This is for me, like, if you're being performative, that means nothing to me. I'm leaving.
Good for them. Good
So
for you and them.
if
That's awesome.
because again, if you're neglecting your spouse, that's going to impact us at some point. If you're not, taking care of yourself, that's going
Yeah.
to impact us at some
Oh,
point.
for sure.
So,
For sure.
so my thing is like, go home,
Yeah.
do good work, and go home.
Mhm. Mhm.
You know what I mean? It's just it's as simple as that. So I try to encourage them to do that. In fact, we have some different travel things that Tammy and I invested in that we try to make available for the team. We encourage them to go move around because and when we talk about culture, if they travel, if they're out in the world and they experience more culture, they get around people, if they know people better, they're going to be more effective at what we do. So it's a business need.
I don't think I've shared with you, but we do, we call it the backpack bonus on our team. So at their 3, 5, 7 and year and beyond, they have the opportunity. There's just a cash bonus that's given to them, but they have to use it on travel purposes. And
Mm,
it can be in the States, it could be to Sioux City, it could be wherever, but they have to go document it and share it with the team. And so we've got one individual on the team who are encouraging her to get out and do her thing. And it's incredibly rewarding as a employer to be able to offer those pieces, of course. But because I want I want it too for them, and
right.
for us to be able to take advantage of some of those pieces too. So it is, yeah, getting out and about, I think, is important for, again, to be a better performer inside of these walls. They got to be good out too. So it's a,
100%.
yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for you. I'm excited to tell Drew about the solo-cation.
Yes. Yes. I think I know you would kill it. I think he would appreciate it. It's just a thing that I'm really trying to normalize. I'm trying to get people comfortable with that idea, and it's like, yo, take a weekend, move around, go do your thing, come back, and then be good. And absence makes the heart grow fonder.
I know.
Like sometimes I want to come home and not see my spouse.
Well, we just had this conversation prior to jumping on,
Mhm.
that Drew and I have slept separately for 6+ months now, and it's again, it's not for everybody. Some people are fine with it, some people are not fine with it, but
Don't care.
I think yeah, I don't care. It's what works for us, to be very honest, and it is what works for us, but also we have different sleep patterns and different activities, and it works. It truly, truly works for us, and neither one of us are crabby at each other, and honestly, we are probably the strongest we're probably the strongest we are together now than we have ever, ever, ever been, truly.
Yes.
And it's taken a lot of years to get there. I mean, you don't get 16 years in and and not love your spouse. But I mean, you can, and it's really
You
ugly at
can,
that
but,
point,
like,
right?
what are
But
you doing?
yeah, but it's just what works for us, and so be it.
So my wife works well, now she kinda has her own thing, but she used to work at a salon for, like, 20 years. And throughout, they used to talk about our marriage because even when my wife met me, I was touring. I was always kinda on the road for something, or I was always out a lot without her. And people used to be like, "Oh my god, you let him go to the." I'm like, "Well, first of all, she don't let me do nothing because 'cause I'm grown. Second, what I would always ask her is, she would come home and say, she's like, "People think our relationship is weird and da 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 da." I said, "Yeah." I said, "Normal is average. Normal is most, and most people get divorced. The last thing we want is a normal marriage. 60-year relationships aren't normal."
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay? I want a I want a special relationship. I want a unique relationship. I want a customized relationship. I want a relationship that's made for me and that's made for you. Those people can do whatever they want. Good luck, God bless. They ain't got nothing to do with
Peace.
what you got over here.
Peace. Peace. We make it happen, but
You
so
know?
tell me the last little bit before I have a question I want to ask you at the end here, but
Yeah.
what for you is the future of Think 3D? Like you're doing so many incredible things with communities and with companies, small and big, and you've got this incredible retreat center happening, but like what's beyond that? Like you love what you're doing, obviously, day in and day out, but is
Mhm.
there something else for you? Like what else is out there for you and the organization?
Everything's on the table. I'm not that person. I mean, obviously, we have some short-term goals and different things like that. But sometimes we ask people, even in our trainings, we say, what do you want for your life? What do you want for your future? And after everybody goes, the next question we ask them is, why'd you stop there?
Mm. Mhm.
And my thing is like, I don't put limits on myself. Some goals are things that you strive for, and some goals are lids. My experience doesn't have a lid. What we doing with Think 3D doesn't have a lid. If it calls us to do it because it helps us improve our community and the lives of the people that we share space with, then I'm into it. And if it doesn't do that, then I'm not.
Yeah, yeah.
So that could be anything. It might, you know, even a lot of the things that we do now. In the beginning, we didn't see ourselves doing, but you know, uh, we came up on it. We were skilled, and we decided to do it. So now my team would probably love it if I gave you some real clear whatevers, but
I
they
think
know rolling with me is
yeah,
going to be a thing.
it's just a journey. Like I had this conversation with somebody the other day because I think as leaders, as owners, you could always ask the question like, "What's next? What's next for you?" Well, for us, I mean, and same with you, it's like this path, and we enjoy the path that we're on, and it's wherever the path is taking us, right? And we'll answer that calling and how we curate our experiences or how we're involved with different lives. Like just like you, we're a part of thousands of lives every single year, and for us, it's like that's what still drives us. The day it doesn't drive me, I know I'm not on the path anymore, and it's a different journey for me.
I'm out.
And
Yeah,
it's
I'm going to do
just
something else.
yeah, exactly. And so I'll continue doing what we love to do and just making shit happen day in and day out. But it's just it's a path, and it is I think always. I mean, yes, we've got our financial goals and where we want to do and what we want to
Yeah,
where we want to be at. But for me personally, it's continuing on this journey and figuring it out every day.
I've got more of what I want without money than with it.
Mm-hmm.
And
That
so for
crazy. Yeah.
me, like, don't get me wrong, I'm going to cash the check, but that's not necessarily what leads me to the experience that I want. Like we talked about, when I go into these restaurants or bars or stores or whatever, and I'm in there with people who care about me, that want me to do well. I was just in a
Mm-hmm.
place, and I got something without a bun, and they were like, "Vonnie, good choice. No, don't have to. They know I'm not supposed to be eating all these buns or carbs because they understand that, like, you know what I mean? Or somebody knows I'm type 2 diabetic, and so they like, hey, you can't have this cookie or whatever. That's care.
Yeah, it is.
You know what I mean? Like that's what matters to me. And money can't buy that. You need real relationship to be able to do that. So for me, anything that facilitates that, like, I'm really inspired by. The other thing I'll just say is like, faith wise, I used to pray for stuff. Now I pray to be in the right place at the right time. And I just
Mhm.
ask to be put in places where I can use
Mhm.
my gifts to better people's lives. And that's usually where I find myself.
Oh my gosh. Do you know, I also had the same conversation the other day with somebody. I remember being young and praying for things, right? Things, material items. And it's changed so much. I mean, so much.
Hmm.
I think perspective, life, everything. I think it just infiltrates all that we do. And yeah, it's interesting how those prayers have changed over the years. But hmm, wow, we've talked about a lot today.
I know.
I love it when you MC with us. I love it when I
Yeah.
get you involved with dancing. No rap. I
I
haven't
just
done
saw my
any.
girl Vanessa today. We were
You
just
guys are
talking
so
about how
good.
you smoked it.
No, I haven't done any rap conversation or rap contest or any of that with you yet. I'm trying to think what else could be next for you and I. I don't know. There's a lot out there, my friend. I love all that you're doing. I'm proud of you with everything with Downtown Sioux Falls, Think
Yeah.
3D, the organization. I mean, all that you're doing. You should be very proud of you. You've done a lot. Got a lot to
Thank
go.
you. Right back at you.
Got a
It's the
lot.
other thing that I really love about this community is that we get to grow together. Like I've seen you grow, you get to see me grow, and like that's what I want. I want my friends to win, and I love being able to see you win. That inspires me. That gets me excited when I see you do stuff. Some people will see you do dope things and they hate on it. Like for me, it gives me juice. It
Oh,
makes me
I
want
love
to
it.
work. It makes me want to go do something. So I love seeing you win.
Thanks, Guy. Thanks, Guy. Well, before I
Yeah.
end, Ariana, our producer, has these questions here, this stack of questions. Look how thick they are. We're not
Ooh,
asking all of them, but I'm going to ask one. I don't know what all these questions are. I've asked some of our guests here, but I don't know the
let's
next
go.
question that we're going to ask. So are you ready?
Give me a good one.
Okay. Oh,
Oh, that was exciting.
what's your go-to midnight snack?
Well, for the record, I'm not supposed to be having midnight snacks, so I don't have those or whatever.
What is it?
Um,
Salty or sweet? I think you're a salty guy.
yeah, I am a salty guy. Like, chips and that type of thing is my
Like
jam.
what chips? Like tell me. Be specific.
Salt and vinegar chips, that's one of my jams there. That's probably where I'm at right now with it. Um, all different kinds. I try not to discriminate,
When
but
you said chips, I remember you told me, like, when you had COVID that you ate Pringles, and you said you're like, "It tastes like chemi" No, this episode probably will never be sponsored by Pringles now, but you're like, "This tastes like chemicals." You're like, "It
and
tastes
it did.
so bad." Do you remember that when you had COVID and you're like, "This is
Yes, it
bad?"
was the craziest thing. Like
Yeah.
I could
They
taste,
were sour cream and onion, I think you were telling me, and they're
and
like,
which I normally love.
yeah,
Shout out to Pringles if you
yeah.
do want to,
Pringles
you know.
are awesome. I'm a sour cream and onion
But
one.
I don't know if my tongue had rewired but I could taste the chemicals and it was just
Is
I
that
was like, it was
strange?
very off-putting.
Is it still like that? Do you know? Or no?
No, I'm back.
You're
I'm
okay.
back. So I can
Callie
enjoy Pringles again.
Callie on our team, had it with peanut butter, and she's still to this day, peanut butter is still different for her.
Yeah. It's
Weird.
man, that was oof.
Oh, that's when you used to live in my building, and I'm not in that building, and no, it's all different now. You're not. It's just different.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, thanks for joining me today. I'm sure I'll see you on the street corner here soon. Actually, I think we're getting together in a couple weeks.
That is correct.
Yeah, I'm excited. But thanks for joining us. Thanks for tuning in. And for those that are watching, be sure to check back every other Thursday on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube for the next episode. Cheers, Vaney.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Uncorked and Unscripted. Make sure to follow and rate this podcast wherever you are watching or listening. Stay connected with us by following us on social media at Uncorked Unscripted on Instagram and Facebook, and at Uncork Unscript on Twitter and TikTok. And if you really enjoyed this episode, do us a huge favor and send it to a friend. See you soon. Bye.